welcome back to another video. My name is Chloe and this is Juniper, and today we're going to be doing a Q&A. I asked you guys over on Instagram. If you're not following us over at Chloe and Dan Vlogs, make sure to follow us there because sometimes I post question boxes for you guys to ask us some questions. These questions range from Disney questions to traveling with a baby, all of that fun stuff. So let's just jump right in and get started. Say hi, Juniper. Hi. First question, favorite Disney resort. Okay. This is going to be a very long-winded answer, and you're probably thinking, can't you just pick a favorite resort? No, I cannot just pick a favorite resort. Depending on the time of year, my favorite resort can change, and then just in general, I have like a top 3 because I can't pick one favorite. So I guess overall, my top 3 favorites would be number 1, Polynesian Resort. Either DVC side or not DVC side, I love both sides of Polynesian. I don't even know that it's actually my favorite, or if it's just because when I was going to Disney as a young kid, that was the resort that like when we'd go by on the monorail, it just seemed like the absolute coolest resort. Even though I was obsessed with Grand Floridian just because of the Full House episode, Polynesian will always have my heart. I feel like I'm transported to Hawaii when I'm on that resort, those resort grounds, and it's just so beautiful. Also, you're close to Magic Kingdom, close to TTC. I will say though, if you're near the water, the horns from the ferry boat can get a little bit annoying if you're like really sensitive to hearing those noises. Like Dan picks up on those noises so easily, so that's definitely not his favorite resort. To me, it doesn't bother me, but I love the Polynesian. Number 2 for me would, number 2 and number 3 I think are pretty closely tied, but I'll say number 2 is the Riviera Resort. I think that resort is beautiful. I know some people have complaints about like the lobby not being grand enough, but to me a lobby is not going to make or break whether or not it's my favorite resort. I think the rooms are absolutely gorgeous. I think the grounds are gorgeous. It's on the Skyliner, so you have easy access to Hollywood Studios and Epcot, and all of the rooms are technically villas. You can book them through Disney, but they're all villas, so they're all going to have like a kitchenette, a microwave, the pull-down beds, which they're Murphy beds, they're not pull-out couches, so that's a huge plus for me. And I just love the Riviera. I'll link our family trip we took in 2021 for my 30th birthday when we stayed there in a 2-bedroom villa, and it was just probably my favorite trip to date, but it was really, really cool staying there. Number 3 for me would be Wilderness Lodge. I love the Wilderness Lodge. I think it's so nice that there's the boat to Magic Kingdom, and again, I feel like I'm transported to like the northwest of the US, which not that I've ever been there, but I feel like that's what it would feel like. I love all the trees and the atmosphere. The Boulder Ridge pool is so nice, it's so quiet, and I love the Wilderness Lodge. We're actually staying there coming up soon. I'll get to that in a minute, but we just love the Wilderness Lodge. And then again, like I said, depending on the time of year, my answers may change. Like during the holidays, my favorite is actually Boardwalk because you're close to Epcot and Hollywood Studios. You can walk to both of them. You don't have to really deal with a lot of transportation if it's super busy around the holidays. It's also just a beautiful resort. You're on the boardwalk, you're close to Yacht Club and Beach Club and the Skyliner. So like there's just a lot of benefits to staying at the boardwalk. Springtime, honestly, my favorite might be a Pop Century stay or Art of Animation stay. And during the summer, I loved staying at Caribbean Beach because it felt like we were staying at like an all-inclusive resort. We could hop on the Skyliner and go to the parks in the evening, and it was just a super fun stay. So my answer definitely varies a lot of the time, and sometimes depending on my memories from a specific trip, that can also sway me too. For the most part, my top 3 would be Polynesian, Riviera, and Wilderness Lodge. Next question, are we DVC owners? No, we are not. We have looked into owning DVC. We've gone back and forth over the years. At this point in time, it just doesn't make sense for us to join it. I am a travel agent, so at times I get discounted stays. So a lot of the times it just doesn't make sense for us to own DVC. And for me, I find that there's a lot of negatives for DVC that I don't entirely love. I don't love the 11-month booking window for only your resort. I know that at 7 months you can switch it, and a lot of times you can get the wait list and you can switch it. But again, my favorite resort kind of switches, and a lot of times I pick a resort based on what's going on at the time that we're going to the parks. So I might not want to stay at Polynesian if that's where I own versus the boardwalk for the holidays, and to have multiple contracts and do all that, it just gets to be a lot. Plus, I don't like that a lot of the availability isn't super great, so unless you pick 11 months out to go on your vacation, you can't really get things last minute versus booking directly through Disney. The availability is usually pretty much there, so That's a con for me. I don't love that a lot of the villas have the pull-out couch still. If they transform them all into Murphy beds, I maybe would be a little bit more swayed, but between a Murphy bed and a pull-out couch, I don't think it's fair to even a child to put them on the pull-out couch because they're not super comfortable. I can sleep on it, but if I'm paying that kind of money for a deluxe resort, I don't want to be sleeping on a pull-out couch. So that's a con to me. I do think it'd be fun to be part of DVC, just to be a part of the club aspect of it, but right now it just doesn't make sense for our family to do it. Maybe it would make sense down the road because if we wanted to have like a 3-bedroom villa, but to have enough points to make that work for like my whole family, I don't think that that would really happen. We probably would just switch to getting our own rooms. So that would be nice in the long run, but at this point in time, I don't think we're gonna get DVC. I wish we had gotten it way back in the day when I was like a kid and my dad still had it, because that would be worth it. But for me to get it now, I just don't think it's worth it. That's probably an unpopular opinion with some of you. And if you have DVC, I applaud you. I think it's so cool that you do have that ability to go and book stays whenever you want and just pay the dues every year. But for now, it's not in the cards for us. My favorite time of year to go to Disney. Okay, so my favorite time of year, that's tough. I like so many different times of the year. I do love a flower and garden trip. I actually really like going over spring break. A lot of times we have to go for spring break because my sister works in schools, and so she can only go over spring break. My mom used to work in schools too, so like that was the time that we could go. And personally, I don't find it to be too overwhelming with the crowds. I think a lot of people stay away because of it, and maybe I shouldn't be saying anything because please stay away, but I don't think it's as bad as it could be, especially because we always get Genie Plus, as well as the annual pass holders who are local get blocked out through those 2 weeks for spring break and Christmas time. So that helps with the crowds at least. I think a lot of people do stay away so that they're not showing up. It helps with the crowds. But I do love spring break. The weather is usually perfect. It's usually like warm during the day and cool at night, so you can throw on a hoodie or a sweatshirt or buy a hoodie, and Flower and Garden's usually happening. So probably my favorite time of year would be Flower and Garden. I do love a Festival of the Arts trip. Festival of the Arts is such a fun festival. I love painting the wall. I love just going and seeing all the artwork and stuff. So that's a fun time of year to go to, and usually the weather is pretty nice. Like we went around Valentine's Day last year. Loved going around Valentine's Day, and it was just perfect temperatures, so much fun, and would recommend around Valentine's Day. And then my other favorite time of year to go would be the holidays, but not like super close to Christmas, like early December. I find that November doesn't feel close enough to Christmas to feel festive enough. I mean, by all means, if you want to go in November, that's the only time you can go in November and see all the decorations, see the gingerbread houses. But personally, my favorite time is definitely that early to kind of mid-December, right before the crowds really ramp up, and the weather's usually nice and cold, so you can wear cute sweaters and be all cozy and festive and just have a great time. Maybe all my answers are gonna have 3 top favorites, because apparently I can't pick anything favorite. How was it bringing a baby to Disney? Well, as you can see, she's fairly chill for the most part. She has been teething the last couple weeks, so she's been a little bit more irritable than normal, but she was an absolute breeze to bring to Disney World. I wasn't really concerned bringing her to Disney World. I was more so concerned with like getting on the plane with all of the stuff that we had, but that ended up being not too bad either. We really managed it well. Dan dropped me and Juniper off at the door at our airport, and then when we were coming back, I dropped him and Juniper off at the door and took the car back, and everything just went super smoothly. The only issue we had flying was Southwest took an hour to bring our bags to the carousel, so that was a little bit tough, but other than that, it was great flying with her. I would have gotten back on a plane the next day and been to Disney, and if I could have afforded it, I probably would have done another trip while I was on maternity leave, but it was so much fun. She turned 3 months while we were on the trip. I think people were kind of like, she's obviously not gonna remember anything from the trip, but is she even gonna like react to things around her? And she definitely showed emotion, especially when we met the characters on the safari. Like there were so many times where she was really noticing what was happening in front of her, meeting Cinderella. Like, there was just a lot of really special moments on the trip, and I'm so glad we went on the trip because she's only gonna be that little and that's like tiny little baby for so long, and I'm just so glad we went. I wouldn't hesitate to do it again in the future, and she was super, super good. Like, shockingly good. She is a Disney baby through and through. Let's see. Do you like staying at multiple resorts, doing split stays? Before baby, yes. There was a trip, I will link it down below. We went in September of 2019 and we did 4 resorts over like 8 days. Like, we did 1 night in the beginning, 1 night at the end, and then like 3 nights at 2 resorts in the middle. And that trip, it worked out really well because where we would start and end our day, I would kind of plan around what we were doing. So the last night of our trip, we were at Boardwalk, so we went to Epcot that day. So we literally just went out the back of Epcot, walked into our resort, called for our bags, and everything was good. So we didn't have to get back to resort. Our new resort was the one that was basically at the back of the park that we were leaving. We did a split stay with Juniper in December because I couldn't get an extra night or 2 at the Contemporary, which was fine. I don't even think I could have gotten an extra 2 nights. I would have only been able to get 1 night, and then we added on a second night anyway. So it just made sense to kind of not do 1 night somewhere and then 7 nights somewhere else. It just made more sense to do 2 nights at some place, and we did 2 nights at Coronado. It was fine. I think I just need to be more organized when I'm packing if we're doing a split stay, instead of like throwing everything where it ends up. Usually I would pack like me in 1 suitcase, Dan in 1 suitcase, and this trip it was kind of, it would have made more sense to have 1 suitcase that had all 3 of our stuff for just the Coronado stay, and then the rest for Contemporary in another suitcase. So in the future, if we have to do a split stay, that's all I would change up. I do like split stays, especially with dining plans being back now, where like you could do the dining plan for like half of your stay, and then the other half of your stay goes super cheap, or like you could do club level for the other half, or nothing at all for the other half. Like, there's so many options with split stays that I do like, especially if I'm doing a split stay with a dining plan, because you have till midnight that last day to use those credits up. A lot of times when people are leaving and flying home that last day, they don't use those credits. They just didn't plan it correctly, and they can end up with leftover credits. So split stays can be super fun, and it is nice to see different resorts. However, a lot of times when we do split stays, I feel like I'm going home at the end of whatever resort we're doing first. So it kind of feels like the trip isn't as long. Even though I know I'm staying, my brain just goes like, oh, we're leaving this resort, we're going home, the trip is ending. So like, there's definitely pros and cons. I think I prefer staying at 1 resort if I'm like choosing between the 2, but I wouldn't hesitate to do a split stay if it made sense. So that's my answer. This kind of goes with the how was it bringing a baby to Disney? The question is, was it hard or scary traveling with Juniper to Disney? I would say no. I wasn't afraid of traveling with her. I think maybe if we were traveling to a place that I had never been to before, it might have been more stressful, but because obviously I am a travel agent that specializes in Disney vacations, I've gone to Disney many, many, many times. Going to Disney for me feels like going to Target. So it was never gonna be, I don't think it would have ever been scary for me to bring her to Disney. Maybe by myself, that would have been a little bit more stressful, but because I knew I had Dan with me, I don't know how long her bow has been falling down her face. But because I knew I had Dan with me, and I had been bringing her out to restaurants since pretty much a week old. We went to my sister's birthday party at a week old, or birthday dinner at a week old, and we go to dinners every week with my family. So going out to dinner wasn't going to be stressful. Pretty much the only new thing for her and for us was bringing a baby on the plane, but that also wasn't scary. We gave her a bottle on the way up and the way down, and she was good. She didn't even cry. She maybe fussed for a second when she got hungry, but that was pretty much it. And yeah, she's just a good baby, so that was not going to be scary. I will say, however, going into the trip, I had never given her a bottle that wasn't like in the comfort of my house or my parents' house. I think I had given her 1 bottle at Panera 1 time before going to Disney, like not in the house. And I had never changed her diaper on a changing table by myself. I had done it once in a doctor's office with Dan. So I guess in a sense that might have been a little bit scary for me, but it wasn't like I was afraid of doing it. It was more so I'm kind of glad this is forcing me into doing these things so that I won't be afraid or worry about doing them in the future. And it was all fine. Just come prepared. I had a separate little diaper bag for doing diaper changes. It had diapers, wipes. I would usually grab like a second outfit and hand sanitizer. and the changing pad for the, like the changing table. So I would have all of those, and giving her a bottle on the go wasn't any different really than sitting on my couch with the pillows perfectly propping her up. It was fine. You figure it out if you want to go to Disney or do something like that with a baby. Have baby will travel, right? That's what my mom always says. Favorite memory from my last trip? I would say meeting Cinderella. I didn't think of doing that until like right before the trip, and I realized, oh, I can get the Genie Lightning Lane for it because we were doing Genie Plus the one day. So I'm just so happy that we did it. She was the perfect Cinderella. She was so kind and so sweet, and she talked to Juniper for a really, really long time. And Juniper looked so cute in her little Cinderella dress and meeting Cinderella, and it was just perfect. And I will say the safari with her, having the lions roar as we walked, or not walked, drove by, that was really cool too. Even though like it happens a lot of time at sunset, pretty cool for her first safari. Favorite Disney vloggers, TikTokers, let's see, YouTube. I'll say I've been watching a lot of All Ears lately. I've been really enjoying their like challenges, like the Monopoly, hide and seek. I just think it's a different type of content, that there's so many vlog channels out there and so many like people like Tim Tracker and stuff that can kind of get monotonous if they're all reporting on the exact same new snack or new ride or new blah 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 blah. And I just like that they will give you the lowdown on a hotel when it opens up or that kind of stuff, but I just like when they do how many rides can we get done in one day, or scavenger hunts. Like I love games, so that definitely piques my interest. Let's see, Tyler Braun and his wife Jessica Braun, I love their channel. They go to Disney, they travel all over the place. Definitely always love watching their family trips on YouTube. Once Upon a Braun, she's great. Adam and Gary, or Adam Hatton, love watching their vlogs. They always go to Disney together. They're just two friends, but love watching their vlogs. Obviously our friends Jen and Joe, they always put out great content. Always watch everything that they put out. And then for TikTokers, I would say Alice Clark Payne, I think that's her name on TikTok. Love her outfit videos. She always puts like pink outfits together. They're so cute. I think it's Meg Calhoun. I will link all these people down below, but I love watching all of her TikToks. And then on Instagram, Rachel Goes to Disney, I think is her name. She is in the parks like every single day. She's local, and a lot of times she's just kind of posting what she's doing in the parks and what's new in the stores and stuff like that. So she travels all over the place too. Cruises, Alani, I think she's going to Disneyland Paris. So those are all my favorite people to like always check in and see what they're doing. So those are definitely all of my favorite YouTube, TikTok, Instagram people. There's a lot more. I wish I could think of them all, but that's just like the people who come to the top of my head. My favorite restaurants. So my favorite restaurants, I'll give you a top 3 and then my least favorites. My top 3 favorites would be California Grill, Narcoossee's. I will say Cinderella's Royal Table. I love doing that restaurant. I mean, you're in the castle. If you want like a really special experience, definitely check that one out. I am looking forward to doing the Akershus, however you say that, breakfast in Norway at some point. Probably when Juniper's a little bit older, we'll do that one. But I think that one's a great option if you don't want to pay for like Cinderella's Royal Table or pay for it ahead of time. That would be probably a good option. But I haven't done that one since I was like, I think 15 or 16, so I don't have personal experience. Those are definitely my top 3. My least favorite restaurants, that's hard to say because food is all subjective. So if you like something and I don't like it, doesn't mean that my taste is the best taste of all the tastes in the whole wide world. It just means I probably haven't had a good experience there and it's just not my favorite. Number 1 for me is probably Tony's Town Restaurant. I don't like that there's only 3 stalls in the bathroom. There was one time they wouldn't even seat us until Callista came out of the bathroom. And like I said, there's only 3 stalls and there was a line and we just weren't able to get seated, even though if we would have gone to sit and then she went back out, it would have been the same thing. So that was kind of strange. Their food also hasn't been great in the past. I need to go back there and give it another shot. I've heard that the food is a little bit better now. So maybe at some point we'll have to try out Tony's again. Don't hold your breath though. And then my second least favorite is probably 50s Primetime. I used to like it when I was a kid, but we've had some experiences there where like, if you don't know, 50s Primetime is basically like you're in your mom's kitchen and like you can't have your elbows on the table, you can't wear a hat, you need to be a part of the Clean Plate Club. And there was a time when my brother like hid spinach in his bag and the table next to us tattled on him, and like they got in trouble for tattling and he got in trouble for hiding his green spinach, and he had to hold like a sugar packet up on the wall with his nose. And then there was another time that the waitress kind of like was giving my sister a dig for not approving of her outfit per se. And those things, I think, basically, if you are a shy person or you don't want to get yelled at, I wouldn't recommend 50s prime time. If you can take a joke or find that stuff funny, by all means, check it out. The food is like home cooking food, so that's the kind of food you're thinking of. Definitely try that out. It's just not my cup of tea anymore anyway. And my third least favorite, honorable mention for my favorite restaurants would definitely be Beer Garden. Forever, I was like, I'm never gonna eat at Beer Garden. I don't like German food. There's just no way I'm ever gonna enjoy Beer Garden. And Dan and I did it 2 or 3 years ago for like the Candlelight Processional package. Apparently all we've ever eaten growing up has been like German-based food, and we didn't realize that we loved basically everything that was on the buffet. So I would highly recommend Beer Garden, but if you're looking for like an atmosphere that you want to talk at, definitely wouldn't be my go-to. But if you're looking for just like that party fun with the music and the live entertainment vibe, definitely check that one out. My other least favorite restaurant, I guess, would be Chefs de France in the France Pavilion at Epcot. I just have never had a great experience there. To be fair, I've only eaten there once, but even like the reviews I've seen people post on like YouTube and TikTok and Instagram generally aren't that good. So I would probably say the France Pavilion. When is your next Disney trip? Our next Disney trip is actually coming up very soon. We are less than a month away, and we are going March 21st through the 26th, and we are going with my whole family again. So like I mentioned before, we went in August of 2021 with my whole family, and we're going back again this March for my brother's 30th birthday, and we are going to be staying in a 2-bedroom villa at Boulder Ridge, which I'm so excited about. Are you excited, Juniper? But I will have a full rundown of everything that we're doing on the trip coming soon. But yeah, that is our next trip, and I'm looking forward to it. Juniper will just be like 27 weeks, so almost 7 months on that trip, and I think it's gonna be a super fun trip for all of us. I think we're all looking forward to going with her and going on the rides and just seeing her reactions to what's in the parks and what's going on around her. So that should be a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that's everything, all the questions that I had from the post that I had done on Instagram. If you have any other questions, leave them down below. Maybe I'll answer them below, or maybe I'll do another Q&A video in the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye! Say bye, Juniper! Say bye-bye! Bye-bye! He's so cute. Good helper, Juniper. You're such a good helper.